teasing me. Now it's time to show and prove.
Hello, welcome to Rubbing Minds. My name is JJ Omojua. Talking about what happened during the week, a couple of interesting things. The Presidential Election Petition Tribunal reached a verdict that obviously is yet to put an end to the whole process. I would expect that the final lap, which is the Supreme Court, will close that. But so far, is the APC smiling? Is the president saying he couldn't watch it because he thought it was going to be traumatic for him? And it's the opposition, PDP, and their presidential candidate, Atiku Abubakar, saying, we're going to go to the Supreme Court. We have 1, 2, or 3 other things to explore in the judgments. And of course, the South African President, Cyril Ramaphosa, has been sending envoys across Africa to Nigeria, to Ghana, Tanzania, and elsewhere, saying, please, we're sorry, we don't mean it. And I also saw a couple of videos on the internet, South Africans saying they apologize. Apologizing is good, but how about those Nigerians and those other Africans whose means of livelihood have been taken away from them? But we're not discussing any of these today. We're having a conversation about youth inclusion. And I have a very, very interesting guest in the house. He's broken records politically. For instance, my guest, Gbadebo Revival, welcome, is the youngest ever PDP senior,
but yeah, youngest
at least definitely one of the youngest ever.
Yes.
If at least in PDP in Lagos as a senatorial candidate. How did that happen?
We just went through the process. I think that there was a period where recently, after a Not Too Young to Run bill, there was a push by the party to bring in young people and actually encourage them and support them to try and reach for whatever offices that they wanted to aspire to. So there was a lot of support within the party, and there was a lot of excitement to get a new generation into political affairs.
So do you think that you did anything extraordinary that's warranted for that to happen? Because it looks like an outlier thing.
It's an outlier, I think, because a lot of people in our generation rather just talk and complain than actually get involved and start doing the grassroots work and the attending ward meetings and things like that. I feel if more people took more interest in it and were not discouraged by the hurdles or challenges that most people, that comes to their mind at first, a lot more people will be at the helm of affairs.
So are you saying that the low representation of young people in government is because young people are not doing the right thing?
I feel they are not getting involved. I think that there's more to politics than just, tweeting or making commentary on social media. You need to attend ward meetings. You need to let your opinions be heard. You need to take the chance to go and buy a party ticket, All of that process increases the possibility and probability of people actually getting.
So what do you say to the structural system that makes it almost necessary for you to have billions in your account to run for virtually all the major offices apart from the local government elections?
I do not have billions in my account.
Yeah, but you didn't win.
I didn't win.
Maybe if you had billions, you would have won.
Well, let's leave that out there because Atiku had billions, and I'm sure that you see that there are certain situations.
But at that level, right? It's just billions. There's no other way around it.
No, I don't want us to reduce our politicking to money.
Okay.
Because there's a tendency to do that. Less than 25% of registered voters came out to vote.
True. One of the lowest, Lagos.
One of the lowest. And you also find that of the total potential voting population, less than 20-30% actually have registered. So you have 20% of 20%. So you have almost 80% of people sitting there in their house on election day doing nothing. Those people, if they come out to vote, they are not going to be asking for 500 naira, 1,000 naira. So it's more than just money. Money is important, but I feel that money is something that allows for the perpetuation of laziness that we already have in our economy, in our political life. And also, a lot of people, cynicism and apathy. That's the biggest challenge. It's not so much the money challenge. It's doing the work to get rid of apathy years before the election. That's the main thing that young people need to start doing and get involved in now.
So it's the International Day for Democracy.
Yeah.
And generally speaking, especially in Africa and in Nigeria, youth inclusion is a big deal.
Yeah.
So it's not unique to Nigeria. You go across the continent, say for a few countries, young people and women are hardly represented in government.
Yes.
Do you not think that there are structural problems that need to be addressed?
There are structural problems. Well, you see, the thing is, the people, you also need to be at the table. You also need to be trying to get into the room.
How do you get into the room if you're battling how to pay your rent, if you're battling how to graduate from school at the age of 30, if you're battling how to find a job? Basic life stuff before you start to aspire.
I agree, but you see, the issue is every generation has a challenge that they face. The Macaulays of the world were facing colonialism, the British Empire, that the empire, the sun never sets in it. The Asiwaju Tinubu of the world was facing the military. So there's always something, there's always a challenge that a generation has to rise up to. And a ward meeting is not something that will take you your entire day. These things last for 45 minutes. You go for your ward meeting.
For real, they last for 45 minutes?
45 minutes to an hour. You go for your ward meeting, you make contributions.
How about the meetings that happen at midnight?
And that's for when you start to aspire. Well, you start from somewhere, and that's what I mean by trying to get into the room or get on the table. Because, you know, there's a missing generation in our political system. There's
like a gap?
There's a gap. There's a generation that, because certain people held on to power for so long, that generation never really got into power. So you see that in political machineries and systems now, there's a generation that's just dying off now rapidly. And there's going to be a change of guards. And if
automatically, Darwinism.
Yes, exactly. So if you're not trying to get into the door or come on the table, you just find that you're going to be skipped.
So when you look at it ordinarily, you say social media has been of great benefit to our generation because you have a voice, right? But the other side is just very important. It has put us in a place where, I want you to address it, where you think you are solving a problem just because you've voiced it, just because you've gotten a lot of retweets. But there are loads of gaps, and we're not addressing those gaps on the ground.
Yes.
How do we change that?
Well, social media has two sides, like you said. It has given a voice that allows for a lot of people to come together and actually push movements and things like that, and even keep the government accountable. So it's been very positive for that. The other side is it's sort of like therapy for a lot of people. They voice out their frustrations and their opinions, and they keep quiet and carry on with daily life. The question now is how to channel those rants, those opinions into actionable plans, whether it's by actually just doing little steps that have high impact, you know, and can move the country forward without necessarily just leaving it at criticizing. It's also about solving, you know, and you don't have to wait for the government to do this. So what I'm looking at is a way that we can channel these things to adopting little projects in different wards, in different parts of the city in Lagos, which is where I'm from, and just see how you can actually bring that into development. I mean, we're in a world of crowd sharing, you know, crowdfunding and things like that. You can use these things to actually solve problems and change lives.
More often than not, our generation especially, we tend to look at the system as them versus us, right? So when you sit down and engage with them, the established political class, it looks like you're not supposed to be sitting down with them. Do you think we have a chance if we don't get to the table and have some very important conversations with people we don't like, with people we think have messed up this country that have to go? Do we have a chance?
I think politics is a game of numbers. That's one. And like they say, there's no permanent friend, no permanent enemy, just permanent.
You're really fully established.
No, but listen, because
I agree with you.
I was in Kowa Party, so I had a very idealistic view of life, right? And then I actually went through the political process and saw that there's a lot of poverty of the mind of the masses as well that's also voting. And you need to understand their interest as well. Because if someone has not eaten and you're expecting them to vote based on their conscience or policies, it's a very difficult proposition. But there's, like I said, there's so many people at home that have jobs, that are upwardly mobile, but they're not getting involved in the process as well. And then you have those people on the ground as well that are looking for people that can actually, they can trust, because a lot of them believe that after 4 years, they will not once the election happens, in 4 years, they will not see this person they voted for. So they want to milk you for all they can get from you in that process of electioneering. Then you have the older generation that have so much experience. They know Nigeria like the back of their hands. They know the processes and the policies that got us where we are going. So there's a lot of advice and knowledge we can get from them. So I believe that we need everybody to come together. We need to give the older generation a pride of place. We need to leverage on the wisdom and knowledge and experience that they've gathered.
And their failures.
And their failures. And then we now need to bring our energy to innovate and move the country forward. But we cannot, nobody can do it by themselves.
Separately.
Yeah.
The other thing is, so when a young person comes to you and says, I'm running for office,
Yeah.
you ask them what political party. And when they tell you a political party that is different from PDP or APC, you start to feel, do you really want to do that? Do you think that the other political parties, and I'm speaking because a young person is listening, they're thinking, what should I do? Should I go to COA? Should I go to, you know, all these other ones? Some of them you can't even remember after the elections. Or should I just fight my way within PDP or APC? Because you moved from, when you were in COA, it was zilch, almost zilch chance. In PDP, your chances increased drastically. The man did not change, but the platform changed. So how should we, I'm speaking about strategy now in terms of the political parties. Should we like get into the major parties and find our path and establish our voice? Or should we continue to be idealistic about it and decide to go to these supposedly much better parties?
I feel that we need a mixture of both. I feel that the smaller parties have a place in our political system, increases dialogue, increases the quality of candidates that are coming forward, especially if these smaller parties focus. There's no point being a small party and you're bringing out a presidential candidate or a candidate for Senate if you cannot really consolidate on one local government or two local governments. But if these parties focus on their strengths in one local government and try and produce local government chairman or some councillors, it makes our political tapestry very, very rich, you know, and that's very valuable. Also, there's a lot to learn going through a smaller party as well. You start to understand how political machinery is built, because in most situations you have to build it. And you also start to interact with the people at the grassroots a lot more intimately than you possibly would in a larger party, because all these things are already done. So you're not going to the minute grassroots as compared to if you were in a smaller party where you are building the things yourself. So there's value in all of these things. I feel as long as you're serious about representation, just it's a journey. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon. So you will learn a lot of things along the way, and politics is not something that you ever stop learning. You learn your lessons, you go to judiciary, you learn your processes, and you learn your lessons. You see, the more you engage in it, the bigger your base is.
Interesting.
You only lose when you quit.
When you exit. So I know you're an architect and you're also a politician.
Yes.
But I think you should also be a political consultant.
I actually have a master's in public policy.
It shows. It really does show. But now in politics, because you actually define it very, very well, there's an issue that I need to address. Over the years, when, especially since the advent of social media and we've had this voice, whenever a young person gets appointed, and this has gone from the PDP years into the APC years, it's always people looking to drag. There's always something to drag the young person for. Why is that the case? Why do young people, and more often than not, they are really small positions, right? Why is that the case? Why is our generation so unfocused?
I think that, you know, that first of all, when you're not used to something or when you're not used to seeing your mates in certain positions, there's always a tendency to try and normalize their rise by criticizing them. You know, I think that's just a basic human condition. I feel that it's beholden to our generation to, when you get into position, do everything you can to be exemplary and to open the door for more of us to come in. And that's the most you can do. You always have critics. If you don't want criticism, then you just have to stay in your house and not really get up to anything significant.
Interesting. So if I wanted to run for office in 2023, what should I be doing from tomorrow morning?
First of all,
I've never been in politics.
You need to decide what party meets your ideals. I know a lot of people say
really ideals?
Yes. A lot of people say there's no ideology in politics, but that is not really true. Depending on the state, the party that's been dominant in the state, if you're open to thuggery and violence and all that, if that appeals to you, there are certain parties for that. If you are looking for more intellectual stimulation, there are certain parties for that. If you are looking for a party that has...
That's the ideal situation. Let's speak to the Nigerian situation.
Yes,
and
that's
APC, PDP, others.
Yes, others. And also, you then look for the people in your particular ward, because that's where it starts from, who you are more amiable with. You know, and then you can have meetings with these people, you become friends. That's where it starts, at your ward. And then
you still get to go to your day job.
You still get to go to your day job. Ward meetings are once a week in a thriving political party, once a week. You do that, all you have to do as a potential leader, bring some minerals, bring some snacks, have meetings, make your voice heard.
But that also includes you paying people's school fees, house
Not
rent.
necessarily. See, if somebody comes here and says...
I don't know anyone who has run for office. And I'm not talking about governorship or senate. I'm talking about regular councillor, the local ones. They're always filling gaps for people.
Yes, but Nigeria is a very tough place now. And the people that are asking this question also recognize that, right? So ultimately, if people come and ask you for something and you have a situation where they ask you for 10,000 and you have 1,000, give them 1,000. They would appreciate it. You don't have to be able to solve the entire problem, but show that you care and you are willing to be part of the solution. That's really all that matters.
Going back to young people and their appointments,
yes,
you take a look at what has happened in the last, say, 7 years thereabout.
Okay.
Have we shown that we are able? I agree we can. I agree we have capacity, but based on the people that have been appointed, based on we had young people actually lead the House of Representatives, for instance. We've had young people being governors, commissioners, and the likes. Have we shown that we're exceptionally different from the previous generation?
You see, I don't really think it boils down to youth alone. It's about capacity, it's about values, it's about integrity, it's about the process that even got you there.
So the argument is the non-inclusion of young people.
Yes.
So if it were based on statistics and pedigree and antecedents, have young people shown that they are a better option?
I think that we've had too few young people to be able to make
that judgment.
Proper judgment. You know, if you have a minority young person in a group and you want to paint the future of all...
But what do you say about a young person that became a House of Rep speaker? You're the leader, so you have an opportunity to define your difference and show that, yeah, young people can do this differently. The times we've had those happen, there's been no telling difference.
I agree, but this person is still in a system that is filled with people of the old order. So it's a struggle, but I'm not going to hold brief for him. I feel
no, I didn't mention. I just said generally because we've had more than one actually.
Yes, but what I'm saying is they are phenomenal commissioners. Like the commissioner for budget and planning, Okoye, is someone I
true. I agree.
In Anambra, you know, and a number of others that have shown quality and capacity, and I feel that there are lots more. Even the speaker currently of Oyo State is a solid guy, and I'm hoping that he's going to
bring... the commissioner of youth and sports in Oyo State.
Yes, I'm hoping that they will bring the dividends of democracy and do quite well for their people.
What kind of future, with respect to young people, what kind of future do you see? You just try and keep it as short as possible for our politics and young people.
I feel that it's of utmost importance we get involved now because we are paying the price for whatever happens moving forward. All the loans that are being borrowed, it's us that are going to pay for it because it's going to be a cost where we'll not be able to invest in healthcare or education because we are paying off loans.
So basically, get involved now.
You are the majority and you are going to carry the burden.
I could have this conversation for 5 hours. It's such an interesting person to speak with. Thank you so much, Gbadebo. Thank you. And I wish you all the best.
Thank you very much.
Now